Today you will be reacting to a series of pictures known more casually as memes found on Facebook. So you can start.
I use this meme very frequently.
It got funnier as we went down.
It's funny, I guess. I like the original one.
I don't like the fuzzy one.
I don't like the third one. I don't like the third one.
I feel like with this stuff, you can't beat the original Surprise Pikachu meme. Because, like, everything else, if it gets, like, for something like this, if it gets too high quality, it loses all of the, like, the funniness behind it, if that makes sense.
See, I'm under 21, so I don't really understand this reference.
Elaine and I are very familiar with this.
I'm pretty bad at it. I don't know how to twist it correctly.
She's not a real comedian.
I'm not.
I would definitely hard react to this. Like, because, like, I've had soju. I'm 21.
Maxwell Beach. Shout out to Maxwell, that is Marcana's media specialist. Join Marcana, you will.
Oh, this was made by Max. I saw this one. Yeah, I got a lot of likes. Look, 10K. 10K.
Wow.
That's like how much tuition is. More than
tuition.
less than.
I wish it was more like
Yeah,
that.
never mind. Sorry.
But does everyone know what this meme is about? Do you have to be Asian to understand this meme? I think so. Yeah.
Wait, I don't want to read that too.
Oh, it's Lily.
Yeah.
Oh. Who are they?
Oh my god! Oh! They look cute!
Oh my god, I saw this!
Ray got homework due at 1 and Ray got 2.
Hey, that's so cute.
Where the ABGs at.
Like tonight.
Yeah, I know.
So rad.
This is too relatable. I don't know what to say to relatable stuff sometimes. Like, this is my life, so I don't want to laugh at it. Okay. Correcting white people's pronunciations of your name. Accepting mispronunciations of your name. Introducing yourself to white people with mispronounced name. Having a white name. Oh, you see? So my first name is, like, white, I guess. Jenny is a very common name in general. But then my last name, like, when people see it on paper, like Cheung, they're like Chiyoung sometimes. Like, I got that out in school. But, like, the E is silent. But not, like, you wouldn't know that. And I kind of just, like, live with it.
Sometimes when I'm in Starbucks, I don't even say my name. I just start spelling it out. Or I have a white name for Starbucks. Sandra.
I feel like white people or like basically people who are Asian always ask what my Korean name is, and I never want to tell them because I know that they're not going to pronounce it right. So why would I tell them for them to just butcher my name?
What is yours name?
Haejong. Oh, yeah. But they'll be like Haejong.
Yeah.
Like,
Or like Haejun.
yeah, or like Haejong. Like.
So many Indian names, like all of the syllables are very common sounds that you hear in English. And yet anytime someone tries to pronounce it, they completely butcher it.
Well, you go by Victor, right?
Yeah. So I go by Victor because my name. I used to go by BJ, but that was tough for people too. They'd be like, "How do you spell that?" I'm like BJ, and then it'd get awkward. So BJOA, it translates to victory. So I go by Victor now.
Honey, I do nail for you. Make you so pretty. I hope you get boyfriend. Oh shit. I didn't see that. You're not Asian. I am Asian. Just chill.
You can't not read it like that if they spell it like that.
Yeah.
I'm just reading it how it's written. Nay, I do nail. Oh no, I'm still doing it. Hold on. Honey, I do nail for you. Make you look pretty. I hope you get boyfriend. There's no way. You cannot read it.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
You're not Asian, girl. Yeah, I feel so bad every time this meme comes because I do read it in like the accent. And I'm like,
I feel like it just speaks to like stereotypes and like even the fact that we're Asian, like we still play into those stereotypes, you know, no matter where you are, no matter where you're from.
Oh, I love SpongeBob Patrick Beast. I've been more conscious about this lately. It's I call one of my Indian friends Asian when he tries to be like, don't use the Asian excuse of like, you're Asian.
Yo, the number of times I have had to tell people
I feel
I am Asian. Do you know where India is? Look at the map.
I feel so bad because like every time like because I feel like when you say Asian, I feel like the first thing people think of is like Korean, Chinese, Japanese, and then like some like Southeastern like Vietnamese, Taiwanese. But then like I also agree that like Indian is also Asian, but I don't know why people always say like you guys are like excluded.
How much time do we have for this one? Oh no.
I too agree. Low-key didn't realize Indian people were Asian until I came to college. But you know, that's what college is for. We learn new things. Shout out to the PETA community.
No, I consider Indians Asians.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I feel like they don't. No, because like I was talking to this guy who's like Indian American, like very Americanized, like basically like a white Indian. I mean, I was like, you're Asian too, like you're the same as us, and he was like, no, not really. And I was like, you said that, not me. So.
Yeah. See, anytime I fill out like a standardized test form, I'm hesitant to put Asian because I'm always looking for the Indian part. So I used to put Native Indian or like
Native American.
Yeah, I put Native American. For my
yeah.
PSATs, I put like Native American / Indian for those.
I mean, I would never call myself Asian, which is so crazy. It took a while even for me, like coming in as a freshman, learning about all the different communities at Northeastern. That like all these South Asian orgs are part of the Asian American community here and part of the Asian American Center. That to me through middle school and high school, Asian American always meant like, you know, Eastern Asia or like any part of Asia other than South Asia. You know, we're our own thing, but we have so many of similar values. I realized that after coming to college that like we should group together and just be collectively Asians. And I should be more confident in selecting like Asian in my PSATs or SATs.
I don't like this one.
It's like generalizing.
I've never seen like these stereotypes.
Wait, why are we advertising?
You're advertising?
It's a good
Like
question.
Metro PCS? Like,
I don't get why that would be the case.
I hate this.
I love it.
Why? So Indians have like all these subcategories too. Like India itself is such a like diverse country. Like we have the business and we have the cheap and safe. That's me. That's Gujaratis. Like
This is pretty accurate though.
It is.
There's something wrong with that.
Again, the stereotypes that we all lean towards and kind of just go along with.
Like it's so, what's the word, like blunt when you look at it like this, but it's like, like
but it's exactly how you live your
it's
life.
hard to admit this, but
Yeah.
it's like what a lot of people are thinking mentally, just like subconsciously, you know.
Yeah.
So like putting it on paper is like another thing, you know. But like
It's
I feel
true.
like these are so common.
Oh, I get this. I have gotten this a couple times actually. Where are you from? No, where are you actually from? It's like, boy, New York, boy. What you mean?
I hate that question.
This is like my biggest microaggression in my life. But I was on a BU tour and the tour guide was like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" And then like, she was like asking like who's like the farthest away from Boston, and so we were like raising our hands and I was like, "Oh, probably me," because like I'm from Jersey, like that's far-ish. And then like this like white dad leans over to his son. He was like, "Oh, she's probably from fucking North Korea or some shit." I was like, "Bitch, shut the fuck!" But you are. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, someone also asked if I was from the good Korea or the bad Korea. Like, if I was from the bad Korea, I wouldn't be here. I'd be starving.
Oddly enough, I never got to.
I
never
thought
really
that,
got
but
this
like their
before.
intention wasn't to be like, oh, they could have just asked. I think like a better question to ask is like, what is your ethnicity? Because like, where are you from? Is like kind of like a microaggression. It's saying like kind of like, oh, you don't look like you belong here, so I want to know where you're from or like where your parents are from. You know, whenever I hear where are you from, I'm like, oh, so you're saying I don't belong here, so you want to know, so you can tell me to go back to where I came from? Like that's messed up.
Oh my god. Yeah, come here.
I got beat as a child.
Oh, I can't relate. My parents did not lay a finger on me.
Really?
Yeah.
I've gotten beat with an umbrella once. And like the umbrella like bent. Because my mom hit me so hard.
I don't know, I feel like I've seen like a lot of memes that are like that, you know, like hitting people with a sandal. So
The
I
wooden
don't know.
spoon. That's the.
Oh, is that
Oh, rice. The rice.
like
What are
the
those called?
ladle?
Like the rice scoopers? Oh yeah, the rice scoopers. Yeah, those things. Those things are dangerous.
I didn't realize celebrity trait things, or like celebrity traits, was a thing till like a month ago.
It's rough. But we connect on that low-key child abuse. Yeah, this is it's a lot. I mean, it's kind of going back to what we said earlier, like about how like memes are funny and all, but like they really do speak to a deeper like past, like a deeper truth. And it's like things that we should be talking about, things that we should be acknowledging and moving forward from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Alright, so that's all for the memes. So, do you know what Facebook group we found these pictures in?
Subtle Asian traits.
Subtle Asian traits?
Subtle Asian traits.
So, do you relate to these memes even if they're not your culture?
I think for most of them, I understand what they're about and like it's pretty relatable. But then some of them are like kind of
Low-key like offensive. Almost.
yeah.
To some extent, yes, but also to some extent, like no. Rather, I see how it can be defined within the context of like a modern Asian American person's like life. Like it might not be to my own, but it could be to like a friend or like something I'll see on social media. So like I relate to it, but I don't like personally relate to it.
I guess it's being first generation.
Yeah, do you think our kids would relate to these memes?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's so weird to think about.
I feel like even, again, like back to the whole thing, like even though we're not from specifically those places in Asia, like we have that like unspoken like thing in common where like we share the same reactions from kids about our smelly lunch. Like we have the same reactions from the public, from media, from society about like our culture. So that kind of brings us together in a way.
So Subtle Asian Traits was founded by a group of Chinese students in Melbourne, Australia. These friends often joked about their own experiences being children of first-generation immigrants and have noticed a Facebook group called Subtle Private School Traits. With that, they thought maybe they could make something called Subtle Asian Traits to joke, talk, and discuss their own experiences in joker meme form in September of 2018. The group has since blown up, spreading to Canada, the US, New Zealand, the UK, Hong Kong, the Netherlands, and more with over 1 million members. What do you think about how this group has like suddenly blown up?
I think it's really nice because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times, like you don't have that sort of community with like common experiences.
I think it's awesome. I think it's amazing.
I think it's also really interesting how like, everyone like relates and then they're from like all different parts of the world, but we all have this one thing connecting us together. And I would not have known that unless this
I mean,
group was like
it's
big.
like I've never seen such a big group on Facebook before, honestly.
It's interesting how it's like branched off from like all these like different other like subtle Asian whatever, subtle Asian dating, subtle Asian, I don't know, all the different ones they have, and like kind of like forming these little like communities and people like reaching out to each other and actually like meeting up and those things. I think are pretty cool.
So, why do you think this has blown up so much?
I mean, it's cool to find people that you relate to, I guess. Even though, like, you think just like funny small things that you thought were
experience
just, like,
growing up.
Yeah, that you didn't really like think about too much. So you're just like, oh, like this is just a thing that like happens, and then all of a sudden someone is like, oh, like we do that thing too, and like, oh, that's cool.
I feel like it's a common human thing to like want to belong. So obviously like when there's a space for you to be able to connect with each other and be like, oh, like we're all Asian.
Also, there hasn't really been a group like this before. I think it's the first of its kind.
Like especially for people who like didn't grow up in like all Asian like neighborhoods or all Asian communities, it's like somewhere like, oh wow, like all these other traits that like it's not just me that they apply to. Because like probably back home, for me at least, I grew up in like a pretty like white neighborhood, and like a lot of the things I can relate to in South Asian traits like no one relates to back home.
I think people always want to find communities that like they feel like they see themselves in to some extent. You know, like if you find a community, then you know you'll be okay. And also people like to laugh, so like I like laughing.
So, subtle Asian traits has also inspired other groups to take form, with subtle curry traits for the South Asian diaspora, as well as subtle Christian traits, subtle Korean traits, subtle Asian dating, subtle Asian mates, and like more. The group has also been met with a lot of controversy, such as being too East Asian heavy, and it also reinforces like self-hating stereotypes or like being racist towards white people.
Why do you think subcategories of this group have come up? Do you think this group is inclusive of all Asian backgrounds?
I mean, I definitely think in the beginning it was very geared towards East Asian, and it still is kind of. But again, I think it's like one of those things where it's like a blurry area of like inclusivity versus having your own safe space to relate to your own like individual cultures.
I see a lot more like East Asian memes, which I guess is, I mean, when you think of Asia, people don't really consider South Asia, you know, which is weird. So I guess that's why we made subtle curry traits. But like, yeah, I don't think it's an issue.
I think it's to feel more niche, or to have a more niche community. Like that's why like subtle curry traits was created.
It's a bit loaded question. Like even when you say all Asian backgrounds, like I don't know if I'd include like South Asian backgrounds in that. But I do think like, you know, like there's a reason they're like separated, and there's like subtle curry dating and subtle Asian dating. It's because, you know, we're not all the same. There are slight nuances in how we are raised and like what we do growing up. And even within our cultures themselves, there's nuances.
Well, yeah, so categories come up because it's not inclusive. Like, I feel like the one size fits all in subtle Asian traits is like you're an upper class, like Asian frat Greek member from usually the Bay Area, and you go to race, which is all fine.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
There are definitely not poor people in that group.
Yeah, which is fine, but I feel like it's a very like limiting sphere.
Do you think that like any of these memes are like controversial at all, or like playing into like these stereotypes?
Well, I feel like a lot of these memes, they come from stereotypes. That's where they draw the content from. But I think for the most part, people don't have malicious intent when they post these things. Like, they're not like, oh, I hate this group of this group of people, so I'm gonna post a meme to like offend all of them.
I mean, that one text one.
Yeah, the one like blank motherfuckers one was definitely a bit overboard for me. But like in general, no. I think there is like a healthy level of just like poking fun at yourself, especially like, you know, it's in good humor. I think being too uptight is like a bad thing, and being able to just kind of like enjoy something and laugh with other people is just it's always positive.
It's a joke. If you can't take a joke, then like, yeah, I think it's not controversial.
No, because they're memes. Like, if you're reading too much into memes and that's what defines your life and that's what you find important, like, you need to get a reality check. Like, they're supposed to be funny. They're not.
I feel like, yeah, it's okay because we say it about ourselves. Like the nail tech one, we say it about ourselves. But
Yeah.
like, you can't, yeah.
But I feel like it'd be different if, like, these were the memes that were being spread around in, like, a white Facebook group.
Yeah.
Like, then it would get super, like, controversial, but this is just, like, us.
It's like a safe Asian space.
Yeah, exactly.
To be like, LOL, Asians are so fucking
Yeah.
whatever.
Do you think that like subtle Asian traits, subtle Korean traits are something that are like necessary for the community?
I don't know that I'd say necessary, but I feel like the way that technology is evolving, it makes sense.
Being able to laugh and share like humor with other people, I think is always positive.
Definitely. I think, again, like it was something we've needed for years, and it's finally here.
I mean, I don't know if it's necessary because my productivity tells me it's not necessary.
I think it was cool at first because then you were like, oh, there's other people that experience the same thing as me. But now I don't know. I think I could do without it. Or it's just like a fun little thing on the side. Like it's not necessary.
I think for one, it does bring unity to the community. But as stated before, it does reinforce negative stereotypes.
Honestly, I think it's a good platform to share experiences, but I honestly think that there should be more like restrictions on like what they're allowed to post and what they aren't.
And do you think this will last, or is it just a fad for right now?
I mean, Our school's meme collective has survived somehow.
The NU meme collective used to be like every meme was just like fire, and now I just see stuff and I'm like, this could relate to any person and any planet. Like, yeah, I think right now we're at the beginning, but also we're approaching the end.
I think the popularity will die down.
It's definitely isn't growing as much as when it started. I feel like a lot of the jokes they're reused, or like they post really similar ones.
I don't know if it'll last, but I think the impact of what it is will last. I will remember that, I guess, call it 4 or 5 month stretch that Subtle Asian Traits has been. Because I remember what impact that has, and like that I think is the more powerful thing. Rather than, sure, people will keep posting memes, but I already feel like the quality is going down a little bit. But I still will appreciate what Subtle Asian Traits did for the community.